I'm Steve R Phillips and welcome to the video. I'm really glad you could make it. And today we're going to be speaking to Ravinol Chambers from BeInspired Films. I'm really looking forward to sharing what Ravinol's got to say. And on that note, I think we're going to skip straight into the value and offer some of Ravi's wealth of experience and what he's learned in business so far, because he's already got a business which is making a difference in the world. And if you'd like to do that also, stay tuned because he's got loads of tips for you. So, Ravi, I've just got a couple of questions, if you don't mind, to kick off.
No worries at all. Yeah, really pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me to chat.
Great stuff. Thank you for coming. It's a real pleasure to be speaking to you. And I'll share a little bit more about your story a little bit later. But first of all, so why did you start up BeInspired Films? What was the motivation behind it?
Well, I wanted to do something that would make a difference in the world. That was like the main priority for me. I'd done different things throughout my life. As a teenager, I wanted to be a stockbroker. I wanted to be a millionaire. I was in the 80s. I had the jackets with the shoulder pads. I was in the era of, that film Wall Street where he said, greed is good. It was very much of that era. But towards the end of my schooling, I completely shifted my track, and I actually spent many years then in the voluntary sector, the charity sector. I even spent time as a monk, which we could possibly talk about later. And I also worked in property in the private sector as well, but I kept being drawn back to work that I felt had a value to society, at large. Mm-hmm. And then the actual specifics about how it became film was I'd lived in East Africa for 2 years, and I'd made a film, and I was running 2 orphanages for street kids at the time. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to let people see the work we were doing so that they could support us and they could give us funds and stuff. So I made a film. I never in a million years dreamt of being a filmmaker. I just thought, this is really good what we're doing. If we could show people, then wouldn't it be great? So that was successful. And then later in the UK, I was running mentoring programs for young people that were at risk of being, kicked out of education. Mm-hmm. And so we had positive role models helping them and stuff. And again, I made a film. And that was when I kind of really saw the power of film in a very practical way to get support, get interest, raise funds, etc. So when I went back to university, my first degree was in psychology. I went back to university and did an MBA, which is like a business master's. Mm-hmm. And I did it on venture philanthropy, which is a big word, but essentially kind of the coming together of business and impact or social change and bringing those 2 worlds together. So that was so exciting for me because prior to that, I was kind of almost a bit schizophrenic between the 2. But I was always more drawn back to the social impact side. So I thought I'll start a business. What would it be? Wanted to be about social impact. Seeing the power of film. Now technology had changed. YouTube was out. And I thought, you know what, why don't I put those 2 things together? Video, storytelling, and social change. And there you go. That was BeInspired Films.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah. I didn't know that about you. And so we skipped straight into one of the questions about BeInspired Films, but we said we were going to give some value. So what would be your top 3 tips for somebody wanting to do a business like that, ethical business, wanting to make a difference in the world? What would your top, given your experience and what you've achieved already, which we'll go into a little bit later on, what would be your top 3 tips?
Sure. So I made a few little notes on this. So one is to visibly live the values. I think, it's not good enough. I mean, it's great if more businesses start to try and align themselves to purpose and, talk a good talk and all that. I mean, it's the first steps. But really to be taken seriously, I think, and to sort of, I guess, reap the full benefits of trying to be a business that's acting as a force for change. I think you need to visibly, when I say visibly, whether that's in your own team, in your own community, in your networks, in your marketplace, to visibly be seen to be living the values that you pound. Walk the talk, I suppose. Definitely the most important. Secondly, though, is consistency, so that all the things that you do need to support that. So whether it's through your marketing, through the partnerships you're involved in, through the clients you take on, it needs to add up, if you like. And also consistency means sticking around, which means staying in business, because there's a big responsibility, because it's hard in business, full stop. I mean, I don't know the exact statistics, but like a lot of businesses fail in the first year or 2. And something crazy like 80% of all businesses don't last 10 years. I mean, all businesses. I mean, that's mind blowing.
Wow.
So, you know, if you are running a business, you owe it to yourself to be able to stick around. But especially if you're trying to do something bigger and more important in the world, then it's really important. And part of that means learning business skills, because sometimes we go into it with the passion and the enthusiasm to do all the good stuff. But sometimes learning about the money and all the business side of it is equally important, because without, if you don't stick around, then you're just another sort of bubble in the ocean, as you like, that's gone. And so, yeah, consistency. And then lastly, and it is really important, and it relates to the other two, is to do amazing work. There's no substitute for that. It's not kind of good enough just because you are a nice guy or a nice girl and you want to do something nice in the world. That's not good enough. You have to actually do work that is worthy of your position in the marketplace, regardless of the fact that you're a nice guy or you're doing something good. Like, something interesting I came across when I started off is that sometimes maybe there's a perception within the social impact sort of world, and certainly from outside or from the commercial world, that it's kind of like a second option. It's sort of like, well, yeah, you know, if you're not that good, or if you're kind of like trying to do social stuff, then you're not going to be like the best. You know what I mean? And it's okay, you can buy it because you're buying it for those social reasons rather than it's excellent. But I think to truly compete and for business to change like in a much bigger way, you have to be just as good, if not better, than anyone, even if they're not in any way socially minded. So I think, yeah, those are my 3 tips. So living the values visibly, consistency, and doing amazing work.
Awesome. I just wanted to, because I just was reading your website about the BCorp that you had recently, and I saw on Facebook. So I think that leads into that nicely. So can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So there's various ways that you can align yourself, if you like, to a tribe or a sort of a group of people who are like-minded. And so obviously there's the social enterprise movement, which is very, very powerful. And there's like obviously the charity sort of world. But the organization or the group that I've kind of aligned myself to is called BeCorp, B Corporation. And the reason for that is because they're actually for-profit businesses, but they are committed to acting as a force for good in the world. So and you have to become certified, you have to go through quite a strict process of self-reflection, analysis, and reporting and stuff. And so you reflect on how you look after your staff, what's your supply chain, what kind of suppliers do you use, and where does the flow of capital go? So what kind of clients do you take on, and your environmental policy, et cetera, et cetera. So many things. And so you kind of, hopefully, you can't really fudge it. You know, you have to kind of be living those things to be able to be certified. But the beauty is it's for-profit businesses. So I think, me personally, I believe that if the world is going to change, it won't change at the scale it needs to change if it's just, you know, charities or social enterprises, because they're all, if you add them up as compared to the full amount of businesses in the world, they're like this tiny, tiny, tiny part of the economy. Yeah. So when you open up a model like BCorp, and hopefully many more to come in the future, you invite, you know, more businesses that might be more commercial or might want to be more commercial to also be part of the change, rather than sort of kind of an us and them thing, like, oh, we're the good guys and business is bad. Business is not bad. Business is just people trying to like make money and live. But if they can become on the journey, you know, for change, then I think it's a really positive thing. So yeah, we were one of the founding UK B Corps, and I'm super proud of that.
Wow, good on you. Yeah, it's like, I can see how powerful that is, because I mean, we're in the health industry, me and my wife, and we're naturopathic nutritionists, and until big companies like Tesco's or big supermarkets take on these big brands and take on things like coconut water, kombucha, whatever it is, whatever the health thing is.
Yeah.
The general public are not going to know about it unless they're health enthusiasts, you know? So it's very, very powerful, isn't it, to bring on corporations like that. Yeah. And it can really help to make a big difference. Yeah.
Well, instantly, if they were to, a lot of things go hand in hand. If they were to stock it on the shelves, obviously more people would buy it. But at the same time, if people wanted to buy it, they would stock it on the shelves. So it's like that age-old thing of like, if we have more power than we think. If enough people at scale decided to change the way they spent their money, overnight these companies would change. Yeah, overnight. Because at the end of the day, they don't really care which product you buy as long as you buy it from them. Yeah. So if we could, so it's an interesting, I think it's a wave. Certainly there's a wave, there's a movement of change, I think, and it's exciting to be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So the second question I had was, why is video so important to have in your business or in your marketing arsenal today? I mean, I know you're an expert in that field, and having done the Video Hero course with you, I can give a testimonial now that it's just been really transforming to the business. And also the comments from clients and people saying how authentic the videos are now, and how your personalities really coming through the videos and stuff. And that's not by mistake. It's because like Ravi's helped to instill these things within me through the training. It's like, it's very important to have structure. I was telling Ravi when I was on the course, before doing the video course, I just shoot videos, and there wouldn't be much purpose to them. But now I make sure there's a purpose to the video, because you can shoot as many videos as you like, but if there's no purpose to them, then you can't get any, you don't necessarily get anything from them, because you didn't have any mission or goal in the first place. So yeah, with that in mind, can you tell us why video is so important these days?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I like to sort of say I won't bore you with the statistics, but still I will give you a few statistics anyway. So it's crazy stuff. I mean, this statistic keeps changing. It's by Cisco, but nonetheless, it's there or thereabouts. By 2019, 80% of all internet traffic will be for video. So it's kind of mind-numbing. Yeah, I mean, anybody who's a sort of a lover of language and sort of writing and stuff would be mortified to think that of that everything moves to video. But it is, if nothing else, we can debate over the numbers, but it's increasing like anything.
Yeah. Was that 2019?
2019, yeah, that's what they say.
It's 2 years away, yeah.
2 years away, yeah. On Facebook now, I mean, this has probably changed since the last time I looked at it, but there's 8 billion video views a day on Facebook.
Wow.
So mind-blowing. And we all know it, don't we? We scroll through our feed and we watch a video, and it's definitely a powerful way. It's an easy way to pass time and watch stuff that you wouldn't probably read long articles in comparison.
That's practically for every person on the planet is what, I know it's not every person, but there's roughly
one for every person. Yeah,
exactly. Every person on the planet.
Per day.
Oh, yeah.
So another thing is people remember 95% of a message if they've watched it on a video, as opposed to, so they say 10% if they read it. So if you think about how you use it, now the thing is, so video can be used purely for sales. It can also be used for good causes. However you use it, or whatever your industry or your business is, you'll use it differently. But the one thing is, it's an incredibly powerful tool. Now, we've just been putting together our first blog post for the year. So I'm going to be sharing a bit of this with you guys sort of before it actually goes out. So I'm just playing around with the word video. So the letters, so VIDEO. So V is visceral. Video is, it involves more of the senses. It actually enables you to have a reaction or a feeling when you watch it. It's very powerful. I for inspiring. Videos can be very, very inspiring, and I think that type of video is very popular. It's like a hit, isn't it? People like to pick me up in the morning. I make themselves feel excited for the day, or think positively. Videos can be dynamic. There's so much you can do with the music, the pace, how you do it. They can really be high impact. Now E is interesting, and we're gonna double up the E's here. And I don't mean the phone company, and I don't mean a fantastic night out at the club, but I mean entertaining. So we all love a good laugh.
Yeah, right.
So when you get comfortable with video, it won't necessarily come instantly, but when you start to get comfortable and relax with video, you can start to have a little bit of fun with it. And it's just magical. When you get people laughing and sort of engaged in that way, it's so much more fluid with the message. But also educational. People, and this is what you mentioned about giving value. It's really important. Every piece of content you put out, what's in it for the viewer? What are they actually going to be able to learn? Is it something useful to them? And that's really important. And then the O is all of these things we've just mentioned is a massive opportunity. It's a huge opportunity, because nowadays to actually engage with video, it's so much more accessible than it used to be. If you go back to before YouTube and, cameras became cheaper and stuff, literally you probably would have needed to be a millionaire or have a big corporation to use video. You'd have to book slots on TV. even just production was really like expensive and everything. So we're in a time where the opportunity, it couldn't be more amazing. So that said, you know, video is not a magic bullet. You know, it's not a magic pill. And just as much as, you know, we would all love it to be, or any of the other things that were pitched on the internet as, you know, get rich quick, or, you know, whatever. And we'd love it to be true, but it's just not true. So we still have to look at things like storytelling. What value are you delivering for your audience? How are you engaging with them? And so on. But if you can get those other things right, the tool is, you know, amazing and incredibly powerful. And I think for me, the thing that's the most exciting about it is the fact that you can build relationships with people at scale. Yeah. So like most of us would certainly like to think we're good one-to-one. So we'd like to think that, you know, when we meet people, whether it's personally or whether when we give them tell them about our products or services, that they see value in that. The thing is, there's only so much time in the day, isn't there? So how can we do that, but to lots of people at the same time? And that's the opportunity for video in my mind. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. You mentioned just wanted to laser in on storytelling, because that's something that we focused on in the course that I sat with you. And I realized the importance of it then. And I've been working since to get all the story and stuff right for our business. And the importance of it. I'm also in the middle of, I wrote a book 7 years ago, and I just give it to my spiritual teacher, and he just had a look at it and he sent it back and he said, yeah, it's fab and it's really good to go. But I was really dubious for a little while of putting it out there, because there's some really personal stuff there, you know?
Yes.
But having gone on the course, you re-inspired me to get it out there. That was part of the reason why I was so inspired again, because you said that it helps to build a relationship and also rapport. You know, so can you just highlight a little bit more of that, and why it's so important to give your story, and how does it make people connect more?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's interesting. I think I'll touch on that, but I'll touch on it in by kind of explaining some of the common mistakes that people make. Okay. And within that, I'll kind of touch on those points, if that's okay. Yeah. So, firstly, one of the mistakes that people make regularly, I think, is they overcomplicate things. So let's say they're going to create a video. So there's a double-edged sword. So the simple thing is keep it simple on one hand, and on the other hand, don't overcomplicate it. Now, it's ironic, isn't it? Sometimes the worst person in the world to tell their story is the person whose story it is. They're actually also the best person. Yeah. But it's because sometimes we think we have to say everything, or we have to get into the detail on everything. But you have to always remember that for your audience, you only need to kind of share the bits that are really of the most important or most valuable bits, you know, that to kind of, and especially, I think when people are paying for a video by a production company, so we're also a multi-award winning production company. Like in 2016, we won the best agency for TV, radio, and video in the UK, under 40 staff, and agency for effectiveness. So we're very accomplished with that. But the thing I think is when people pay us to make videos, because they're thinking this is a lot of money, I need to get everything in there to get the value. But in actual fact, the best value is what works. Right. So if it's less and it works, that's the most value, not getting more messages in there and actually confusing people and leaving them, you know. So that's the first thing. Keep it simple. And also, you can always do a series. You don't have to do it in one. You can do multiple videos. Yeah. The next 2 points relate to what you were just asking. So the first one is, it's not about you. It's about your audience. Yeah. And that one is good to remember because it helps you focus on delivering value to your audience. It helps you make sure that you don't get too self-conscious, because it's not really about you. Stop thinking about you. Just get over yourself. It's about your audience, right? It's about them. And if you focus on delivering value to them, then you know they will appreciate that and will tune in with you. Yeah. The opposite to that is, don't be afraid to make it about you, which is the point that you were just raising, which seems totally contradictory. Because in one sense, the one thing for sure to make your thing unique is if you make it about you. Because you could, like, what else can you be sure of that's unique? Probably nothing. But the one thing that is unique is you. Now, those two go hand in hand, because you make it about you because people like personal stories. People like now you're not going to reach the world, but it's okay, because you connect with your tribe, or the people who gravitate towards you, who like you. So that's okay. You kind of have to get over the fact that some people are not going to like you.
Yeah, great.
Put yourself out there. It's vulnerable, isn't it? Because you're going to share yourself, and if you do well, you're going to equally get people who are going to say you're an idiot and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
You kind of have to just know that might come and be okay with it. But that's kind of, how are you going to remain sane within that? It's remembering that it's not about you, it's about your audience. So they both go together. So it's like you use the power of personality, of the fact that your story is a story that people can learn through. And so you put yourself perhaps front and center to make that effective, whilst always remembering it's not really about you, it's about your audience.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Awesome tips, yeah. Get yourself out of the way so you can spread your message and make a difference.
Even if that's through the brand of you.
Yeah. So
it's
like, it's almost like, I reflected on this a little, like ultimate humility, really, isn't it? Because you're doing something that's, okay, maybe pushing your buttons or something, but you're doing it because there's a higher purpose, and then your viewers, your audience will pick up on that. Is that right?
Yeah, it is what I'm saying. But I mean, like, let's be real for a second as well. We're all, we're not saints. So we'll be somewhere on a spectrum. What I'm saying is that, that's a good meditation to have. But, the chances are it's going to be mixed in with, wanting to be in the center stage and all that. Like, there'll be elements of all of those things. The thing is, we just have to be, sort of self-aware and sort of try and make sure the balance is, because if you go too far and it does seem like it's all about you, then, maybe you are a bit of an idiot. But, you know what I mean? Or at least, well, that's harsh, isn't it? But you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to keep that balance where, you're putting yourself out there, but really there has to be, I think, more value to it. Otherwise, people might be watching you for the wrong reasons, let's say.
Yeah, right.
But, one other interesting thing in that is that I remember, do you remember when Andy Murray, the tennis player, not when he won Wimbledon, but before that, when he was the runner-up, and it was a hell of a match, amazing match, and he lost, and in the final, and the mic came to him, and he started to try and talk, and he broke down, and he started crying, and that was the moment when everybody loved him.
Right.
They loved him. So what happened was he was vulnerable. Now, he didn't plan for that to happen, but it happened. And so the interesting thing about being vulnerable is that I heard a great saying is that on the inside, it feels very weak. But on the outside, it looks incredibly strong.
Wow.
Right? Now, so it's just understanding the power of vulnerability, but at the same time, nobody likes someone who's needy. So, you've got to play that one very carefully. But it's just sort of saying it's okay to admit that, sometimes you have challenges with things or whatever, in the backdrop of obviously looking for a positive thing to work through it and to help your viewers kind of work through it. But it's just okay to admit that that just not trying to pretend you're perfect, basically.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow, it was really powerful. So thanks, Ravi. Yeah, that's really powerful stuff, I have one more question to ask you. And it was, can you help the listeners by giving them some mistakes you've learned from to save them making the mistakes themselves?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, luckily I've got a few more of those up my sleeve. So the first three that I mentioned just there were, keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it. It's not about you, it's about your audience. And then don't be afraid to make it about you. But I've got a few more. So always remember the purpose behind your videos, because you can spend a lot of time and potentially a lot of money if you're paying someone else to do it, or if you're doing it yourself, a lot of time making videos. Now, I will say this, genuinely, even though obviously my business is making videos for people and training people to make videos. The goal is not to make videos. I mean, who cares about videos? Well, so what? Another video in the world. I mean, why? What's the point? But if you've got a purpose for making that video, and it's actually, you've planned it, You've thought about how it links to your overall strategy in terms of what you're trying to do, whether it's in your business or your charity or whatever you're trying to do. And then you create a piece of content using video that actually can help you to achieve that. Now that is worth your time or your money. But it's about remembering that purpose, and also kind of in a way, remembering that purpose, but kind of trying to do it in an interesting, personal, fun kind of a way, so that it doesn't feel like an advert. Do you know what I mean? You've got a purpose, you've got something behind it, but you're using the power of storytelling, the power of personality, the power of fun things to get that message through, but in a way that it doesn't seem like it's the thing that's front and center. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
Nobody wants to be sort of sold to or pitched at. But if they can get that message that you want passed on to them in a way that sort of is pleasant and is sort of fun and engaging, then that is the secret. Now, if it's just fun and whatever, then it's kind of, okay, you might get views and stuff, but like, if that's your purpose, then great. But if you've got a bigger purpose and you've lost sight of that, then you've lost out. If you just have the purpose and the message and you don't make it engaging and whatever, again, it may not achieve its results. So remember the purpose, but try and make it personal and fun.
So on that, so how about a call to action then? Because detrimentally, having a business, then you've got to make a call to action, you've got to make a sale.
Yeah.
Any business. But so how do you do that call to action and in such a way that it comes across like that?
I think it depends. I think there's various things. I think you definitely need a call to action. Not necessarily on every video, but you have to make a call on it. But I think what it is that if you've delivered great value in the video, so in a way, if you think about it as an invisible bank account, you've been investing some sort of value, if you like, into that viewer's bank account. Now, then at the end of it, you're essentially giving them an invitation to, if they would like to know more. Would they like some more value? In other words, would they like a free consultation to explore some of these things a bit further? And you could say, would they like to grab your 3-part series on this, which is totally free, which again is helping them to spend more time with you. There's a thing called the Google Zero Moment of Truth, which sort of alludes to the idea that if you spend, I think it's in here. Let me have a quick look. It might not be in this one. I think it's 7-11-4. So I think if you spend 7 hours with someone across 11 touch points and 4 locations, then you feel like you fully kind of have arrived at a point where you can make a decision about that person or that business. And so what you want to do is invite that person to spend more time with you, whether it's through your blogs, through your videos, through your free reports, through a chat with you, whatever the case may be. So you're not trying to make the sale there and then, but you're just inviting them to explore more with you. If they're ready to buy, then brilliant. When you chat to them, or they will. You can ask them. And we were just chatting about this in our team this morning. There's actually nothing wrong with sort of wanting to make a sale, because if you think about it, when a customer comes on and connects with you, they wouldn't be connecting with you at all unless there was a potential that they had a reason to possibly want your product. So when you then engage with them, there's no point trying to pretend that that's not there. So in actual fact, what you can sort of say to them is that, look, it seems like you might have a reason to be interested in this product. My objective is not necessarily to sell it to you, but to better understand your needs, to see if we can help you, and if we can, what's the best solution. Does that sound okay? Well, you go, yeah. I mean, what? Of course. Yeah. But at the end of a video, obviously, you may not go into that in so much detail, but it could just literally be, if you'd like to, know a little bit more about any of these topics, give us a call or check out our website, or if you can direct them to somewhere a bit more structured, even better, like some more videos or whatever. So essentially, you kind of sometimes need to do a plan that the video doesn't stand alone. It sits within a customer journey or some kind of, let's say, sort of customer orientation sort of journey that you've got, where you are trying to help educate them, help them solve. So I think in that sense, it's about the video itself and the call to action, but how does it fit within the overall customer journey? that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So on that note, I think that's a opportunity to do a plug. So it's like, if you're enjoying this video, so why not just subscribe to the YouTube channel to get more of the videos like this? Because we're trying to offer as much value as we can. And then, but if this is on Facebook, like the page as well, so you can tune into the next ones and not miss out. So
Brilliant, brilliant. And that's exactly it, isn't it? If we like something, if we like one thing, then there's chances are we'd like more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've got two more little tips about biggest mistakes people make. They don't plan. So they kind of, they just create content, in a flurry. They might make one video that's supposed to be in this big series and then not make the rest or whatever. And that goes hand in hand with consistency. It's better to do one video a month and do it consistently than to do a flurry and then give up. So, yeah. And I suppose, if people are interested in learning more about making their own videos, they can check out our website, which is videoknowhow.co.uk, and we will run various courses throughout the year and so on.
Yeah, do you have one coming up now if this goes out quite soon?
Yeah, we've got one in February 23rd, 24th, which is in Birmingham. And on that, we look at storytelling, we look at strategy, we look at the skills to create your own videos. And there's also an option to have a 90-day support package where we'll support you, guide you, and hold you accountable to achieve your goals using videos. So if that's of interest, then check us out or drop me a message.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And one thing that I recognized when I was on the course with Ravi as well was there was a lady on the course, I won't mention any names, but she was really struggling to get in front of camera. And this can be like a very big issue for some people because public speaking is one of the biggest fears that people have got next to spiders.
Okay.
So there was a girl on there and Ravi just managed to draw it out of her. And I've seen videos since we've done the course now. And they're just fantastic. And she was like trembling. She was really nervous. She didn't want to go in front of the screen at all. And she just seems so natural now in front of camera, and she's really using it to make an impact to therapists and stuff in the field. So it's that's how powerful the course is. If you have any fears or doubts or worries about it, Ravi can really hold your hand and walk you through it, with his team as well. So
that's one of the most exciting things. I think it's sometimes the most obvious transformation that people go through is, and we have a group right at the moment, and there was a guy who said, he was really nervous about it, definitely never wanted to be in front of the camera, and now he's making a little video every day, and he's actually, you probably wouldn't be able to stop him. He's loving it. So it is fun. It is fun.
Awesome.
I think that's good. Is there any other bits you wanted to chat about, Steve?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, just to finish off. Yeah, I'd just like to say as well, like how we met first of all, and how it inspired me because. It was an event when I was living up in London. So it was about 6, maybe 7 years ago, something like that. And I was in an event and there was a few thousand people in the event. It was a Daniel Priestley event, I'm sure it was. And there was somebody speaking about videos and the power of videos and how you can use videos to make social impact and impact in the world, And I remember sitting there and thinking, wow, this is so inspiring because personally, I like speaking anyway. I've done public speaking courses and things. I love to speak, and I've also seen the power of video. And when I seen this guy speaking, I thought, wow, he's really onto it. And that was really at the crest of the wave because that was, Facebook had been around, the internet had been around for a little while, but video hadn't quite taken off. But this guy that was Ravinol. And at the time, I remember I marked it in my head. I thought, wow, he's really onto something there, And for a few years, I didn't hear from him. I didn't see him anywhere because I moved back to Wales. And then more recently, I started seeing him online. And some of you may know about me that I spent a couple of years in a temple, lived as a celibate monk for a couple of years. And then I also found out that Ravinol had done the same.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, I met him. Like, so you're probably one of the first monks that I'd met, in fact. But I didn't have a clue that you had been involved in that before. So it was, it was really nice to hear because, of course, when I heard that as well, I knew that there would have been like a lot of heart and ethics behind it as well, So it's, And then we saw each other at an event up in London. And we said, let's get together, let's speak. And then that's how I ended up doing the course. And that, that's how we're here speaking today. So I just wanted for the viewers, I just wanted to go into a little bit more depth, just ask a few questions about BeInspired Films, and then I think we're ready to wrap up then. So,
lovely. Thank you.
so we've already gone over why you started BeInspired Films, and so why you started, but what, because it's BeInspired, I love that, because that's part of what I want to do is inspire, motivate, and empower people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what all of our work is about, whether it's nutrition or whether it's my stuff with the mind. That's what we're always aiming to do. So what was your inspiration? What was that moment that said, right, that's what I'm going to do?
Yeah. Well, I kind of explained about the background between linking video to social impact, but the name BeInspired Films, which does embody, you know, the essence of what drives me to do it. When I spent time as a full-time monk, I spent 7 years, and I spent that time literally as the right-hand man to my teacher, my mentor. And his name was Tribhuvanas, and he was an extraordinary person. I mean, like an Indiana Jones, but he was a monk as well. A very dynamic, exciting, powerful, attractive personality. And we used to travel around the world putting on festivals for the public where they could come along and experience, you know, spiritual music, vegetarian spiritual food, philosophy and wisdom about the soul, about the universe, about time, about karma, all these incredible things. And we would basically put on a lot of hard work to organize these festivals and invite the public to them for free. So they could literally come along and just we used to call them an evening of natural bliss. And very sad, he, at 48 years old, he passed away. He got stomach cancer, which was a real big blow to me. He was like a father figure. But in the year when he was ill, and he was, it didn't really slow him down, but he was giving a class, a sort of a talk to a bunch of young people at the temple in Watford in London. It's the old house that George Harrison donated to the Krishna monks, and he was there and he was talking, and the room was completely jammed full, and I was standing outside the room, and he said, you know, find something that inspires you and do it. Right? And he was just saying this to these young people, you know, and he used to sometimes talk about like how he just can't understand, like, you know, this is going to sound funny, but he used to say that sometimes in the temple itself, you know, in the morning prayers and stuff, he used to feel more inspired in the motorway services, watching the people racing up and down the motorway in their cars, than he did in the morning prayers at the temple. Yeah, that might sound weird, but what he was basically saying is that, okay, so people on the motorway might be, who knows what their motivations are, but they might be directed at, you know, making money, doing this, doing that, doing the other. But at least they're really going for it. They're doing it. They are determined. They're inspired in some shape or form. So he was saying to these young people, find something that inspires you and go after it and do it. And if that thing can be something that is spiritual, or at least is in the backdrop of a spiritual understanding, whatever it might be, then that benefit will not just be a temporary benefit, but it's potentially, you know, connects you to a much bigger benefit. So that sort of stuck in my head. And when I was thinking about the name for BeInspired Films, I was going through all kinds of names. and that one came out. BeInspired Films. So that's the story behind it.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah. What a legend. I've only heard bits and bobs of his talks and seminars, but what I have heard has been phenomenal. It's so powerful, and I have to offer my gratitude as well, because we ran a festival down in Carmarthen just recently, and we had the Hare Krishna festival team down there, and that was all due to your teacher you were talking about there, because if he had that inspiration, they've been running since he's passed. And they're still running, and they're running free festivals all around the UK just to inspire and motivate people. You know, it's really, and it is really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing.
No worries. Good to chat to you, Steve.
Yeah. So one more question. How do you plan to move forward with Inspired Films? What's your future plans?
Yes. So as I mentioned, you know, we're really fortunate and grateful to have won lots of awards for working with, we only tell stories for organizations that are trying to make a difference. But in November last year, 2016, I went to India, and I spent 3 weeks there, and I drove a tuk-tuk, you know, the 3-wheel rickshaw thing, with a sort of equivalent of a lawnmower engine on it. There was 15 of us, 3 in each rickshaw. We drove 1,800 kilometers from Mumbai to the very southern tip of India. And the purpose behind it was to raise money for girls' education for a charity that we organized the trip. And so we all paid for our own trips and we raised money. But it got me thinking, you know, for a long, long time, I wanted to have more ownership over the stories that I tell. So I wanted to sort of move towards doing documentaries for cinema, for TV. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is my chance. I've been talking about it for some time. I'm going to go for it. So I put a little team together and we went and we shot a documentary on that trip, which is kind of got 3 layers to it. It's a road trip, which is an incredible road trip.
Yeah.
It's looking at a cause or an issue about girls' education in India. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, it was a personal trip too, because at the end of the trip, this place where the main school is based for the girls' education is in a town called Vrindavan in rural India. And I had lived there 20 years ago as a monk for a year. I studied the ancient scriptures there. And so we went back there, and I hadn't been there for 20 years. So it was a real full circle for me. And so we are now putting together the story, and we'll be editing it and putting it out this year. So I want to do more of that, more move in that direction more. So that's the first step. So very, very exciting.
Awesome. So how can people plug into that? Where can they like your Facebook page, or can they sign up to a mailing list, or what have you got there for people to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ways in which people can connect with me is, if you want to connect with BeInspired Films at all the sort of, you know, Facebook, Twitter, etc., we're at BeInspired Films. If you want to connect with Video Know-How for the video training, same thing, Facebook, Twitter, at Video Know-How. And for the documentary stuff, at the moment I'm doing it underneath the name of Street Philosophy.
Yeah.
So Facebook, it's facebook.com/Street Philosophers. Street Philosophers. And I also go out in the UK into the street and ask people questions about philosophical stuff in a fun way. So yeah, I'd love you to follow us there, connect, you know, say hello. If you've watched this, then, you know, tell us you've watched it. I'm happy. I'm a person who responds. So, you know, if you want to connect and have a chat, then more than happy to do so.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Ravi. That's been amazing. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening to the end of the video. And yeah, so click like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to listen to more videos like this. And I hope you've gained loads of value. Whatever value you have gained, pop it in the comment below the video, and any questions or comments I'll reply to as well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Ravinol.
No worries. Thank you, Steve. Look forward to seeing more of these too. Take care.
Awesome. Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.